When it comes to startup fundraising, it's not about the pitch. I'm Sam Wong, and I often serve as a judge in a startup pitch competition. This is the fifth in a series of 6 videos on raising pre-seed and seed startup funds. In it, I'll help you sell your fundraise like a pro. Let's go. Finally, we get to the point about selling. Okay, here in this topic, we are going to talk about your pitch, how you target, how you qualify, and how you pitch and track. Okay, we actually dive into a lot of the low-level detail on how to pitch in our How to Sell and Fundraise Effectively class on our website. The reality is that founders must sell. There's tons of content available on the web that talk about how founders have to become salespeople, even if they are not natural-born salespeople, because you're going to be selling a product, of course. You're going to sell it to customers. You have an item of value and you have a buyer who might want to pay for it. You also have a second thing that you're selling, which is probably even more important early on at least, and that's your stock. When you are fundraising, you are actually selling your stock to a potential investor. If you have never landed a big fish, if you don't have a sales background and you've never closed a 7-figure deal, you probably need to invest some time and energy into learning how to sell correctly, because raising $7 million is landing a 7-figure sale. Okay, if you've never done it before, it would behoove you to be able to learn some things about how to do it well. In fact, the quote from Nitin here, the dean of the Harvard Business School, talking about their business school alumni, is that the #1 regret that they wish they'd spent more time investing in was how to sell. Most people don't respect it, but your salesmanship, your sales abilities makes a big deal on how effective you will be in fundraising. This is an actual example from one of the startups I was at. I was a VP here at this startup earlier in my career. We had an opportunity to pitch to Hummer Winblad Venture Partners. We got an audience with the 2 lead named partners, John Hummer and Winblad. This is the actual meeting flow, okay? The CEO, who was a Harvard MBA, freshly minted Harvard MBA, did his pitch. And he's going through the slides, and then John Hummer in the end of the room is starting to do this. He's nodding his head, like, I get it. And he's saying basically, hurry up, go faster. The CEO sees John Hummer doing this and say, hurry up. It says, and the CEO does not comply with John's request. It says, I'm getting there. And he continues to go through his regular pitch. And John's getting irritated. And I'm looking at this like, oh God, this is not good. I'm trying to think about when's the right time to potentially help out. It would look bad if the CEO needs help from one of his underlings in doing the pitch. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I handle this? How do I salvage this? Thankfully, Ann Winblad was one of our fans. She liked what we were doing, and she asks a question and lobs a big fat softball that we can whack. The CEO doesn't answer the question. Okay, and Anne just basically says, I'm trying to help you out. She rolls her eyes, and I see in the room, she connects eyes with John, and I see John's head go. He subtly shakes his head. And I'm like, oh no. 5 minutes later, our pitch was over and we were walked out the door. We got no funds. Even though this particular company had fantastic technology, we could not raise money in this situation because the CEO couldn't read the room and didn't know how to sell. All right. So in fact, more detail from Harvard. The instructors from the MBA sales course say that basically they feel like the ability to sell is the single most critical success factor of any new enterprise. Typically, poor salesmanship is all about, all you talking, okay? It's not much listening. Good sales is all about asking questions and teasing out the answers. Instead of being seller focused, you should be buyer focused. Poor salesmanships tend to be just focused on the seller, and they can't read the signs in the room. Okay, I'm going to skip the last part for the sake of time. So when we look at the funding strategy, one of the key items was the targets. You need to be able to make sure you're going to send your pitch deck, or you're pitching potential investors who have the highest likelihood of investing in you. If you are building an app, it makes no sense for you to send your pitch deck to a VC firm or the partner at a VC firm who only does life sciences or biotech investments. Okay, chances are you're not going to get a good response. Okay, if you take away just one thing from the sales side of this, is that you need to focus on qualified investors. The better you qualify, the better you will sell in the process. And a qualified opportunity is a sales opportunity with an objectively verified high probability of closing. Okay, this helps you determine which opportunities you should actively pursue and which opportunities you should not pursue, because sometimes what you choose not to do can be just as important as what you choose to do. Notice that I have not talked much about the actual pitch process, because fundamentally it is not about the pitch. Okay, there are lots of pitch experts out there who will focus lots of feedback on improving your pitch. It's too busy, you got too many words on it, make this chart prettier or whatever else. And those are all helpful details. For the sake of pitch refinement, we do have 12 different categories that we think are important to include in a pitch. Okay, of course, your elevator pitch, there's the problem statement, the solution, and how you solve the problem. There's the description of the size of the market, your total addressable market, et cetera. Your business model, how you're going to make money, the existing competition, what your sales and marketing strategy is going to be, what type of momentum and traction that you've had, which I described earlier in a previous slide, the composition and makeup of your team and what their skills and experience are, your financials so far, and what type of investment you're asking for. And then, of course, there's another category of other miscellaneous things. Okay, we cover these 12 topics in our startup pitch scorecard. We wrote a blog post that describes our startup pitch scorecard. When I serve as when someone comes to one of our coaching sessions and they ask for pitch feedback, we use this scorecard to be able to provide that feedback in a structured and written way. Okay, so you can get this blog post here if you are looking for it. I believe it's just been pasted into the chat window if you're looking for that blog. There is a difference in pitching versus selling. I'm going to skip this. Pitching is managing the overall sales meeting, and those sales meetings should be part of a system. Okay. It's important, be honest with your potential investors. Don't oversell. We have a situation, a teaching example where I was a judge at a pitch competition, and we found a founder who was eager, but unfortunately made some statements that upon Q&A became clear he was overstating what his company had accomplished. Okay, you can see that on our YouTube channel. Okay, we have a number of pitch coaching sessions on our YouTube channel in a pitch coaching playlist. Okay, from a structure perspective, the sales process should look something like a multiple stages, a multiple step process. Here we're describing a sales process from Sandler. Sandler is a very simple, or a more simple sales process, but it more clearly illustrates the general process. He describes it as compartments of a submarine. You don't go from one step to another step until you've finished the previous step. Okay, this is a key element of making sure you know what the process is so you can measure it. And as the old adage goes, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In fact, there's a second corollary to that, is that not only do you want to measure and manage, you want to report it in order to accelerate it. And if you've been in sales before, you know your sales manager, a competent sales manager will have some type of sales pipeline, and that pipeline will include all the leads that are in pipeline with probability of closing, and that creates your sales funnel. We have a sample sales funnel with ready-to-use spreadsheets to be able to track for both your customers pipeline as well as your investor pipeline. That's included with our sales training class on our Fundable Startups website. If you want more, I've got a ton of content on our fundablestartups.com website to help founders deliver a great pitch that makes investors want to write a check. You can also jump to the next video in this 6-video series by clicking in the lower left corner, or the playlist in the upper left starts you with the first video in the series.